Have you or a loved one played Call of the Wild recently? If so, did you or a loved one spot a diamond? Was your instantaneous knee-jerk reaction to get up, start flapping your hands like a little baby? But most importantly, did you f*** up the shot? This phenomenon, recognized by Call of the Wild players worldwide, is known as the diamond jitters. You know you've got the diamond jitters when you can't sit still, you keep continuously scaring off your animals, or even worse, you have more golds that should have been diamonds in your lodge than actual diamonds themselves. Is this a continuous problem for you? If so, then I am absolutely here to help. All jokes aside, we have all been here before. We have all looked a diamond in the face and somehow messed up the shot. Or we've scared it off. Or we have wounded it and it got away and we had to track it so far and lost their tracks and it was confusing, and for whatever reason, we gave up on it. And that's why I made this video. This guide should serve to you as a tool to help you become a better hunter. I have compiled my best tips, tricks, and advice to help you as it has helped me. Now, that being said, I would like to preface the whole video with two things. One, I am not affiliated with Avalanche Studios or Expansive Worlds by any stretch of the imagination. This video is not sponsored in any way. It's just me going out of the kindness of my heart to help you. Remember that. And two, I am not a professional player by any means. I'm absolutely just a casual player. I'm just spreading my experience as someone who has not just played for years, but someone who is active in several different online communities for Call of the Wild, including the Reddit and several different Facebook forums and pages. Most, if not all, of the resources that I've used in my years-long career of playing Call of the Wild will be utilized in this video so that you can find them, and hopefully they'll be of use to you as it has been to me. Should you want a more professional or descriptive outlook on the Hunter Call of the Wild, I would suggest going to Flinter or ZaggyDK for some of the more complex stuff. But if you've joined me today so that you can hear the basics in plain English, then by all means stick around because you're in for a treat. And with that, I proudly present to you Zander's Declassified Diamond Takedown Guide.
I hate this channel.
No! No!
Step 1. Locating your diamond, otherwise known as easy part. When you find a diamond animal of any kind, it's always a special and exciting kind of feeling. However, it's always best to cover your bases once you find it. Do you have the animal's zone? If not, trace its tracks as far forward or backward as long as you can until you find its resting, drinking, or eating zone. In most cases, you'll unlock the zone as you spot the animal, which will save you a lot of work. Make sure you check your map in case you already have its zone, in the event it may be a respawn from a zone you've been farming. I feel like there's a bit of a misconception around zones, so I want to clarify a few things before we move on. Need zones are not areas where animals spawn. Animals generate and regenerate throughout the map as the in-game time passes. Zones are built to help you locate these animals. The animals have a predetermination to go to these zones, depending on what time they begin and end. Respawns generate randomly and on their own, not because of zones. And for even more clarification, I mean this in the sense of population density, not in the case where, oh, I spawned at an outpost that was too close to this zone, so the animals don't show up. Now that we've got this out of the way, we can move forward. Step 2. Preparation. This step may not be the hardest, but it's definitely where the real work starts. Now that you know where your diamond can be located, you have to consider the best ways to take it down when the time comes. Take a tent with you and place it 250 to 300 yards away from the diamond zone. If you place it too close when you spawn in, either the animals at that zone won't spawn in at all, or you risk scaring them off. The animal spook radius, the distance in which your animal will detect you and either run away or charge at you, has been reduced to within 200 yards, so place your tent carefully. Having a tent nearby can actually save you a lot of time and effort. If you do manage to scare your diamond away, you can teleport back to your tent and change the in-game time to whenever the zone begins, and try again. Simply revolutionary. Once you have your tent down, you should figure out where to be when the time comes to shoot your animal. To have an easy advantage over your animal, take a tree stand, a blind, or a tripod with you, and place it somewhere easy enough for you to get to without scaring off your animal. If you'd rather not put in as much work, you can go without the stands and blinds, and you can try to find a comfortable place in the bushes close by. But before you count them out, let me explain why utilizing things like stands and blinds is a lot smarter and, in the long run, a lot easier. Using tripods, stands, and blinds allows you to shoot up to 15 animals at one time, because when you kill animals while using them, you produce much less pressure. For reference, you can usually only kill 3 animals at a time at a zone before the zone is completely ruined by pressure. They also allow you to get closer to your animal because when you sit in them, you make no noise by being in them, and the animals can't see you nearly as well as you can see them. You'll find that some of the animals don't even acknowledge you, they just walk right by you. So make sure you take a collar with you if you end up taking a tripod or a blind. Now, unfortunately, there is a catch. The tripods, stands, blinds, and tents are not included with base copies of the game. You can either grab a packaged copy of Call of the Wild and use them that way, or you can pay for the DLC separately if you want to use these items. The DLC will run you roughly $4 US should you choose to get it. However, I want to emphasize that the DLC is not required, only recommended. You don't need this DLC to be a successful hunter. The DLC just makes things a lot easier. Like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with sitting in the bushes where there's limited visibility. There are also plenty of outposts around the map that can help you get back and forth to where you need to be. It may just take a little bit of extra walking depending on where your animals are. If I can be totally honest with you, usually I don't even use the tents and tripods. You want to know why? Because I'm super jumpy and impatient. And that's why we're here together, because we're both impatient fucks. Step 3. Making a decent shot. Alright kids, now make sure you have your pens and pencils ready because this shit is going to be on the final quiz. Get ready. This next part's going to be a mouthful, so seriously, if you need to take notes, then take notes. Look down the sights, squeeze the trigger, and let it surprise you. It being the score of your diamond. But before you shoot, here's a couple things you should remember. Double check what gun and ammo you're using. Do you have the right caliber? How do you know you have the right caliber? And how can you see what caliber works for which animal? Call of the Wild utilizes a class categorization in-game for animals, and usually this depends on the animal. You'll find that the smaller game, like hares, foxes, coyotes, and ducks, are on the lower class spectrum, classes 1 through 3. However, most medium-sized game, like most deer, pronghorn, wildebeest, and warthog, usually end up somewhere between classes 4 to 6. Your larger game, like buffalo, bison, red deer, elk, and most predators end up in classes 7 through 9. You can find out all of this information and more in the Codex, the game's internal encyclopedia for all things hunting, by going to the pause menu. Or, if you're like me, you'll use a website, documents, or an app that organizes it all by map in case you need a fast refresher. To check if your ammunition is too much or too little for your animal, go into your inventory, hover over your ammo, and check the details underneath the ammo's photo. It will tell you what classes are ethical to shoot with that caliber. Sometimes it just makes sense. You wouldn't shoot a deer with birdshot, and you wouldn't maim a scrub hare with a 300 mag. Other times, it's easy to get mixed up. I still sometimes pop red deer with a 300 mag, forgetting they require something smaller. It takes virtually no time to double check your equipment and save yourself a lot of grief. Now that we have caliber correction out of the way, let's move on. It's best not to get too trigger happy unless you're completely still, out of sight, zeroed in correctly, and you have a clear sight picture of your animal. Do not take the shot if you're not confident. This bears repeating. If you are not confident, you are not ready. Wait until you're ready and you know you can hit your animal vitally. You can only use 2 shots to take down your animal, so try not to panic if you hit your animal non-vitally the first time. There's always the chance it would come back if you wait for it, or alternatively, you could track down your wounded animal until it's in a good enough place to take your second shot. Do not rush the shot. This is an issue I have at least 80% of the time when I see a high-scoring or diamond potential animal. Do not shoot if the animal is traveling, running, or migrating. This is the best way to ensure you will hit your animal vitally and you will receive the full score. Leading your shot because your target is moving or running from you is incredibly difficult to do, on top of the likelihood of striking your animal vitally while in motion being slim to none. Leading also depends on the gun you're using, the animal in question, and your zero distance. You want to do that math? By the time you get your answer, your diamond's already gone. GG's, Einstein. GG's. Shot placement is a complicated conversation to have, but is a necessity nonetheless. It depends on the animal, but most mammals in-game can be taken down quickly, if not instantaneously, through double lung shots, brain shots, heart shots, and vertebrae shots. Severing the spine through the neck has the potential to be an instant kill, but for most animals that's a lot harder to manage. The liver is also a vital organ, but not the stomach or intestines. Liver shots are usually not recommended because there's just too much room for error. Highlighted on your screen right now is the anatomy of a white-tailed deer. Highlighted on these diagrams of white-tailed deer are its vitals. Most players will become familiar with the white-tailed deer, seeing as I would argue that 90 to 95% of all players start at Layton Lake, where white-tailed deer is given to you as your first harvest. However, I absolutely believe it's borderline imperative to become acquainted with the anatomy of the whitetail and memorize this anatomy because it makes hunting other animals a lot easier in the long run. Every animal in-game, no matter where you go, have the same weak points. It's up to you to be able to locate them. Finding the vitals on other animals will eventually become natural to you once you familiarize yourself with the anatomy of the white-tailed deer, not because they're in the exact same place, but because you know where to look. Most shots are successful from a broadside view of your animal. The bullet powers through the rib cage, next to or into the armpit, and seamlessly punctures the lungs. This is the recommended shot placement formula for most animals such as deer, elk, pronghorn, buffalo, bison, and most predators. A good example of an exemption to this would be the alligator, considering gators are best taken down through the brain, which is an incredibly hard shot to take. There are places you absolutely should not shoot whatsoever, and even though I think this goes without saying, a refresher wouldn't hurt. If your animal has palms, horns, or antlers of any kind, avoid the skull, the jaw, and the brain, if at all possible. Females don't apply to this rule so long as you hit the brain and they do not have horns, palms, or antlers. Do not shoot the stomach or intestines of your animal because they are not considered vital organs. Any part of the spine below the middle neck is also ruled out as vital organs and will impact the overall score of your animal. This formula is not required for any Class 1 animals as the score is not impacted by shot placement. Personally, I know for sure I'm not proficient when it comes to front-facing shots, so as a general rule of thumb, I actively avoid taking them. However, if you know the anatomy of your animal well enough, you're familiar with the game's hitboxes, and you have what it takes to pull it off, don't shy away from taking that frontal heart shot. It's a very common way to take down animals, diamond or not. Even if you miss the heart from the front, you can still puncture a single lung, but the angle of your shot is very important, so be careful in the occasion you miss vitals on your shot. It is possible to miss the heart and lungs entirely by shooting way too high. It just gets stuck in the flesh and the muscle of the animal. Or, if you're one of God's least favorite people, you could take a shot and the bullet just decide not to penetrate at all, so your harvest screen just looks like a diagram of the animal's insides with a huge white arrow teasingly pointing at its guts, like the game's saying, "Look what could have been. Touch some grass and stop playing hunting sims. Actually, why don't you hunt for some bitches to penetrate? L plus ratio." Well, wasn't that short and sweet and to the point? But wait, there's more. Bonus round. Why does my diamond not score a diamond despite surpassing diamond's score? Otherwise known as the "what the fuck happened" round. I won't lie to you. Most Call of the Wild players will see this stage of their career at some point, diamond or not. If you're lucky, congrats. Taxidermize your diamond and hang it in your lodge. Rub it in the faces of every hunter you see. Take photos and post them on social media so everyone can tell you how good of a job you did. Hip hip motherfucking hooray. Or maybe you weren't so lucky. Maybe when you picked up your animal, the information on your harvest screen was questionable. Allow me to clear a couple things up. Here's the heartbreaking reality. Your animal score cannot be changed, but its grade can based on different criteria. Let's go down the list, shall we? If your shot placement is off and you hit it anywhere that isn't considered a vital organ and it died, that downgrades the medal. If your shot placement is off to the point where you maim the skull, otherwise known as the trophy organ of any animal with palms, horns, or antlers, that downgrades the medal. If you shot your animal more than twice, that downgrades the medal. If you shot your animal with the wrong caliber or the wrong gun, that downgrades the medal. If your animal falls victim to predation by being hunted in front of your own very eyes, you'll receive a glitched harvest screen with, you got it, a downgraded medal. Now listen, I know what you're thinking. Jesus H. Christ, that sounds like a lot. Well, you youngsters and fresh hunters have it lucky because back in my day, each individual criteria stacked. That meant if you somehow fucked your diamond white-tailed deer all the way up, I'm talking like you shot it in the face 3 times with a .22 rifle, Congrats, Chucklefuck, you've got a bronze whitetail with a fat score 260. Nowadays, stacking harvest check criteria is a thing of the past. You could miss a combination of any of the aforementioned criteria and it would only be downgraded one time. Diamond to gold, gold to silver, etc. Great ones don't even get downgraded to a diamond level if they're messed up, they get sent to gold. Imagine a great one whitetail with a big fat ugly bronze medal on it. Makes me want to curl up and fucking die. Now, sometimes there are circumstances beyond your control to blame for your diamond simply not being a diamond. There are certain factors that go into the potential score of your animal. Sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it don't. The animal's weight estimation, level, and score estimation, as well as some external factors, should be considered before you get bent out of shape over the animal not scoring diamond. Some level 4s can make diamond, and some level 5s don't because of this. And that's how trolls are born, baby! Trolls are animals that seemingly hit every criteria in order to be diamond, including level, weight estimate, score estimate, and even antler size or palm spread, but somehow didn't make it. Level 5 caribou and reindeer are notoriously bad for this. A level 3 caribou can weigh more and have racks bigger than level 4s and 5s. Level 4s are still scoring silver. I really do think this was unintentionally unbalanced, but unbalanced nonetheless. Some animals are guaranteed diamonds. For example, thanks to the true rack system, you can sometimes tell by the antlers, palms, or horns of an animal if it's guaranteed to be diamond. These are affectionately known as diamond racks. I don't know the validity of level 9 predators being guaranteed to hit diamond anymore, but back in the day, usually if a predator was level 9, it was a diamond. An animal's fur pattern can add to the value of an animal, but ultimately it bears no impact on the animal's numerical value. Diamond or not, shoot that albino pig. Lay that melanistic red deer to waste. Piebald blacktail? More like biebald blacktail. Yeah. No, I'll see myself out. Last but certainly not least, this message was brought to you by the grand word of the day, not sponsored by Avalanche Studios or Expansive Worlds. The word of the day this week is wait. Wait for your animal. Wait for the right shot. Wait for the animal's health to change. Wait for your animal to come back. Wait for the animal to die. Waiting, the key to every hunt. Wow, what a journey, huh? I hope I've explained everything in a way that makes sense and in a way that's not super complicated. When it comes to certain things, for me, you have to break it down like I'm 5. Otherwise, I'm just not gonna get it, I'm not gonna retain it, I'm not gonna understand. So hopefully this makes sense to you the same way it makes sense to me. If I'm being honest, I have no fucking idea how else to put it. Well, that being said, I hope you learned something today. Roll the tape. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like, you can hit the link to the right of me here to subscribe, or you can follow me at all the links below and in the description for more content. You can also click the links to the left of me here to watch more Call of the Wild content or to be sent to a random video. So with that, thank you so much for being here, it was a pleasure, and I'll see you next time.